let me go ahead and get started. On our agenda today, we're going to talk about some collaboration and review options, mail merge, creating outlines, web options, customizing the Word application itself, and then we're going to leave quite a bit of time at the end for other topics for open discussion. So if you think of something as we're going along or you have something in mind already, go ahead and jot yourself down a little note so when we get to the end of the presentation that you can go ahead and ask those open questions, open topics, and I'll do my best. Since you're catching me on the fly, I'll do my best to answer those. And if I don't know them, go ahead and at that time you can forward me your email. I'll do some research if I don't know it, and I'll get back to you with the answer. So let's go ahead and let's talk about collaboration a wee bit. We work a lot together on certain files, but this isn't only for working with somebody else. It's working with yourself as well. So sometimes I have a document and I've changed it from an original format of the document, as in the wording or the way that it looks, and perhaps I want to make sure that I'm tracking those changes. And if I need to go back and remove some change or a comment or whatnot, I can. So you'll see me bounce back from our presentation over to Word since we're talking about Word today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my Word application with you, and you'll see it right here in where the presentation is. You'll see my Word pop up. And I'm going to go ahead and change over to Word. Oh gosh. It's not being nice to me today, so I'll just go ahead and do that. For some reason, it's not grabbing my Word. So I think I'm going to cheat and just try and show you an image of my desktop. And it could be because I have multiple monitors. Sorry about that, guys. So let's go ahead and do one more try with this. I don't know why it's being persnickety. There we go.
Yay, you got it.
Yay, it's just not being persnickety. I mean, usually I can grab the full application, but it's not grabbing it. It just wants to grab an image. So here I have a Word document open. I'm going to be playing with this for most of the time that we're together. It's just a quick letter. And when I want to modify something I already have, or I can even start from scratch, the first thing I want to do is to turn on track changes. So we're going to be talking about this review tab. And on the review tab, I want to turn on track changes. I'm just going to click on it. You'll see that it's highlighted. And now if I do any changes, it's going to track that. Likewise, if I turn it on, save the document, and send it over to Tom, any changes Tom makes, those are going to be recorded. And when he sends the document back to me, I can verify that, yes, indeed, he made some changes, and I can continue with those changes and go back and get rid of some of the changes that he's made. So, for example, I'm just going to say this goes to Bob Smith, and he is at 123 Main Street. And I'm going to go along. And you'll see that any changes that I make to this document are highlighted. And right now, I can go up and I can say either I can accept the change or I can reject the change. So when I have multiple changes, and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to put in another paragraph and say for contacting for hiring, blah, blah, blah. Now I have multiple changes, and I can go through and look through each of my change and either accept it or reject it. And there's also an option to accept all. I would never recommend doing that. Out of 100 that you don't want, and now you've accepted it. You can also reject all of them. Sometimes I would reject all of them, but I would never accept all of them. So when I want to go through and say, okay, here's my last change, I just clicked on previous, and now I can say accept it or reject it. And I'm going to say reject. And it says, hey, are you sure? Yes. I'm sure. It gets rid of it. The other part I can do is right now, it's just tracking changes within the document. But I can show it as balloons, and I think probably you guys have probably seen this before when you receive a document and it's all marked up. And I'm going to change it to original markup. And instead of having my changes in the document right then and there, it puts it off to the side. And I can see, okay, I inserted a paragraph, I inserted Bob Smith, I can insert the address, and it's off to the side. Sometimes you don't necessarily want to see it within your document, which is in line. Sometimes you want it out in what they call a balloon, off to the side. That way you could see the original document and see any of the modifications from there. For instance, if I come through and I say image by MedTech, and actually MedTech is 2 words and the T is capitalized, you'll see that it's inserted, some delete, and it's off to the side. It's your preference. And at this point, I can go back and I can say, oh, I reject that change, it's gone. But it still has some markup. This is because the original showing markup is selected. Now my final showing markup will show what does this document look, the tail end, with all of my marking up. If I change it to final, it gets rid of all my markups and will show my final document. So far, are we on task and everybody doesn't have any questions, or do you have questions so far? Good to go? Okay, so let me go ahead and show you a few more things that are in this tracking of our changes. We have go ahead, Belinda. And it's Belinda. Sorry, I just went to see Wicked, so if I said Belinda, it's because I just went to go see Wicked. Sorry about that. I was just clapping. Oh, good. I'm probably going to say Galinda a lot. So. Okay. So I can say where I want my reviewing pane. I can either have it vertical or horizontal, depending on what you like. This is just in terms of how you like to review. If you want it down to the bottom or if you want it off to the side, this will give you everything that's in your document to review your document quickly. So I just want to go through and tell you about these marking up and such, icons and such. The show markup, you can specify exactly what you want to see. So if I have some comments in here, inking, insertions, formatting, whatever, and the cool part about this is that you can narrow it down to a specific reviewer. So if I shared this document with 5 people, and it's actually Bob, his comments that I want to look at, then I can specify which reviewer. Since there's only one reviewer of me, it's only showing one reviewer. But if I had multiple, which ones just by selecting which person I want to see. And then, again, I can go through and reject or accept whichever comments they have made. Okay. So if I want to turn off track changes, again, I'm just going to deselect it, and now I've turned off the track changes. So I just click it to turn it on, click it to turn it off. And if I want to stop making changes marked, in terms of I've gotten everybody's comments back or their changes back, and now I want to keep doing my own thing, I can turn the track changes off, and it won't track those changes any longer. The other thing you may want to do is you may want to, before you send this out to somebody, you may want to remove any changes or comments, which we're going to talk about next, off of your document. And the way that you would do that is to go through the document inspector. Now, the document inspector does more than just remove your comments and your changes. You can remove your personal information off of the document, and you can prepare it for deployment to the public. So let me run through that really quick. You just go to your Office button, go down to Prepare, and right here is Inspect Documents. If you click on Inspect Documents, it tells me I got to save it first, but I can go through and remove, and first it's going to tell me, what do you want me to find? I can do versions, annotations, the properties, any XML data, headers, footers, because sometimes we have our personal data like where this file is stored or the date or anything like that in your header or footer, and then any hidden text. So there might be something there that you're not quite aware that you forgot it was there, or you got this document from somebody else and you're not too sure what's in there. So you do want to go through the document inspector before you blast this out publicly. So I want to inspect my document, and right now it tells me I have comments and I have some document properties with personal information. For instance, when you create a document, it automatically puts the username and it will add information in the background like initials. Well, if I'm putting this public, I don't necessarily want that information in there. So I'm just going to click on Remove All and Remove All. And I'm going to re-inspect. Here's the key. You always want to re-inspect it just to make sure that Word got everything. After all, it's just a program. So again, I'm going to re-inspect it. It goes through the same steps, and it says nothing's there. So I've gotten rid of everything that I don't want. I'm going to close it. So that's pretty much track changes. Okay. Now the last thing, and I probably could have done this beforehand, but there is a way to print all of your track changes. Now that my document doesn't have any track changes any longer, but it's actually just in the print options. You click on a button for your, let me go through, pardon me, page layout. When I'm going through page setup, I can choose whether or not to include it. And I just clicked on the wrong button. And it's going to be print, and I can select my prints, and I can choose where I want my markup. So what to print, my documents, my list of markup, my document showing the markup. You may want this to be able to show to another person what the document, how that document has changed over a period of time. So this is a good way to be able to print it out for your records, or print it out to share with someone, and then have that document as your printout, your record. And I'm just going to get out of that. So that's pretty much going through the tracking. Does anybody have any questions yet on track? This is just going through track changes.
I have one question. Do you know by chance how the track changes interfaces with like document libraries on SharePoint at all?
It does work with SharePoint very well. When you share a document via SharePoint, when you bring that document off of SharePoint to your computer, it marks that a new user is using that document. So whatever username that you have linked up to Office, which I'm going to show you by customizing where that's stored. So that's going to be just about the last thing that we chat about, because it hits everything. But what happens is when you bring that document from SharePoint to your user station, it puts your data, your information onto that document. And then as long as that track changes is going in the background, it's going to track everything. So when you put it back up on SharePoint for somebody else, those modifications are registered. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, the next thing I want to chat about are comments, because comments are collaborative, but it's also for your use as well. And comments could be shown or not shown. That's the good thing about comments, is that maybe you have a document and you need to make some notation either for yourself for a later date or for somebody else who you're collaborating with. So you can show it or you don't need to show it. So right here in my document, I'm just going to go right next to Dear. I'm going to add a comment. So on your review, I'm going to say New Comment. Now this is a text comment. And right here on the side, I'm going to add my comment of insert person to sending to. Okay. Now, when I share this document with Tom, Tom can say, oh, I couldn't figure that out before by just Dear, and Lynn wants me to include the person who this is going to, some type of address for that person, Dr. John Doe or Mr. Bob Smith. That could be a comment to somebody else. Also, it could be a comment just for me to see. Now, I can close out this document right here, and I can go from step by step by step to look at my next comment and say show all, and here's my comment. So it puts it off to the side. I can delete this comment. I can add to this comment just by clicking in here and saying add 10 people. Or if I don't need this comment anymore, I can just click on delete. So if I have a couple of these comments, and say here's another comment, and I have numerous comments, then if I don't need them anymore, I can delete them, or I can share them with someone else. That's the good part about comments. If I don't need to see the comments, then I can say, again, go to Final and just see my final document. Or, let me show again, here's my final markup. I can accept I can delete specific comments from specific people. Now remember, I'm the only one in this document, so it's not going to give me the option. Some comments from Tom, I'm picking on Tom today, but if there are comments from Tom that I could get rid, that I could delete, I could delete them specifically from him. So this is text comments, but you also have a choice of doing a voice comment. And it's a little strange how you go about doing it, because you would think a voice comment would be right in the comments area. But since it's one of those features that I guess folks don't use a lot, they hide it. And the way to find it is you would go to your Office button, go down to Word Options, you would go to, Customize, change over to All Commands, and earlier I could not find this. I'm hoping I can find it. But you would scroll down to Insert, and it's Insert Voice. Oh, good. I found it really quickly. Insert Voice, say Add. This puts it onto your Quick Access toolbar. And you say, OK. Now up here, I have a little button that says Insert Voice. So I select wherever I want to put it. I click on Insert Voice, and as long as you have a microphone on your computer, you click the button, and you say, OK, you give it a name. Comment 1, and I can say next, and go find that file. So this is a recording of, this is a recording that you already have on your computer. So I'm going to browse to find it. I really don't have one there, but let's say, I'm going to say okay there. Now I just chose a document, and there we go. I have a comment out here on the side. I think I want my review panel on the over here so you can see it. So any file you can attach, including a voice file. So if I had kind of a long, lengthy explanation of what this piece of my document was for, I can record my voice, which you can use Media Center, anything like that, to record your voice and then go get your file. Or if you have another file with your explanation or a link to a document that you want to give over as a comment, not as in part of this document. I mean, it is part of the document, but I can insert a document. That's one thing. But this is as a comment. It's not, I wouldn't use it as a piece of the puzzle as much as collaboration and helping somebody else understand this main document. So I'd have my file right here. I can also delete it. So again, I can go through and delete my comments. Just going to delete it just by clicking on delete. Again, you have a print option. So when you go to your print, it's the same thing. So I can show my document showing the markup. That's going to grab all those comments, or I can markup. So it's very similar in terms of track changes with comments. Comments are for communication with other people and kind of reminders to yourself. Any questions regarding comments and adding comments to your document? I take that as a no. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show the final document here. And let me bounce back to our presentation. And we've kind of gone through 2 slides here. And we're going to talk about mail merge. Now, with emailing, folks, I don't know if mail merge is starting to go obsolete, but it's still a useful feature. I know most of the things that I share back and forth is all via email. Not a lot of labeling in terms of address labeling, not a lot of envelopes, printing on envelopes anymore because I have email. But mail merge is one of those features that although I think it's kind of going obsolete, I think they'll keep it in for a few more renditions of the product. So let's chat about it for a little bit. Mail merge is a feature where you can take a list of data, a list of information, and include it into a letter or a document. You can create labels, you can create address on envelopes. The purpose of it is if you had multiple letters going out to multiple people, it would customize it just for them. In the good old days, in the olden days, if we wanted to send an envelope out to 50 people, we would have to manually type up the labels or the envelope itself. With the mail merge, we don't need to do that. Also with letters, if I wanted a customized letter to Mr. Smith, Mrs. Jones, so forth and so forth, then I'd have to do it by hand once upon a time ago in the olden days. Now we don't need to do that. We can use mail merge. So again, I'm going to share that letter that I have going on, and I'm going to use mail merge to make this a custom letter to a whole bunch of people pretty quickly. So again, let me change over to my desktop. And here we have that letter again. And addresses, and I want to say dear, the address in terms of Mr. Dr. So-and-so. And I'm just going to leave it at that because quickly I can do this And the cool part about Word is in 2007, they've made mail merge quite straightforward and simple, I would say. So on your Mailings tab, I want to start mail merge. And I'm going to go through and create this with the document that I have, and I'm going to go through the wizard. I mean, why should I do the work when I can make Word do it for me? So I'm going to step by step, and right now it says what type of document, right here on the right-hand side, what type of document are you working on? A letter. And I'm going to go to the next, and it asks me, do you want to use the current document? And I'm going to say yes. If I didn't already have this document open, I could start from a template or an existing document that I have saved somewhere else. I'm going to say next. Now, it's going to ask me for my list of recipients. And it just so happens I already have a list. It's already made up. I'm going to either use an existing list or I can go grab it from Outlook. I don't want to use Outlook because I'm actually using somebody else's machine, so it's not my Outlook that it would go to. So I'm just going to go ahead and say use an existing list, and it says write your letter. Now, my data source is right on my desktop, and I'm just going to go get it. It's actually just a Word document, and I named it data source. And I say open. Now, I'll show you what this looks like in a minute after I've added the recipients. But what it's going to go to is, all it is a table of names, addresses, and other personal information. And it says, let me expand this a little bit so you can see what the table kind of looks like. Last name, first name, title, address, city, state, zip, and medical facility. Okay? I can select who I want this letter to go out to right now. And say, well, okay, I don't need it to go to Nicholas, I don't need it to go to David, and Jocelyn. So I deselected those, and I said, okay. Now, it didn't seem to do much, right? All it did was link my recipient list to this document. But I haven't told it what to do with it yet. So this is when I want to start putting in some field settings. So I went to the next step, and Word is pretty clever. It says, hey, on a typical letter, because I told it was a letter, you usually have a greeting line, an address block, and some other things. So I want to say address block. And it asked me, how do you want to use this address block? And right now it's going to pull out the title, the first name, the last name, the address. I say, okay, that's pretty good, but I have some other options. And say, without their title. I actually like it with the title for this purpose right now. I'm going to say, okay. And you see, it just puts in address block. Doesn't have the exact person yet. That's when we go to actually finish this mail merge, it will do that. And right here after dear, I want their first name to show. So I want to say a greeting line. And right now it says greeting line, inline format. And I don't want it Mr. Randall. I want just first name. And then I'm going to say, okay. So I can get rid of this dear that's there. And Word will take care of everything else in there. And I'm pretty much done. That's it. If I go through the wizard, it's really, really simple. So I say preview my letter. And I look at it, and it says it looks pretty good. And if I wanted to make some changes, I could, but it looks good. So I'm going to say next and complete the merge. So right now, I can print it, and I can edit the individual letters. Now, if this was something like maybe Robert doesn't go by Robert, he actually goes by Bob. And I know he goes by Bob. So I'm going to edit the individual letters, I'm going to edit the current record, and I'm going to say OK. And right here, I'm just going to change it to Bob. And that's it. I can save it and move on. And close that out. And that's going through the mail merge, okay, in terms of the wizard. I can also create address labels or envelopes. It's pretty simple. You just click on, if I want envelopes, I click on envelopes. I do have to select which envelope I'm using. So if I need to change the different type of envelope, I click on options, and there's a bunch of pre-built-in sizes here. I'm going to go ahead and stick with size 10. That's pretty standard. And I'm going to say OK for that. I can also select the labels at the same time, and I don't want postcard, but perhaps I want business cards. You know, and I say OK. And I select a new document. So this is my new document. Again, sorry about that. I didn't want that. It should just do it automatically. So labels, full page of labels, single labels, and I can print them from here. Oh, I don't have it linked up. Sorry about that. It's going to default back to what I had. So it's the same steps. I can go through, I can add to my document. I can say to mail merge. I can preview my letters. Where'd it go, where'd it go, where'd it go? Sorry about that. Right in the middle here, I can do an address block. And this I want to center on my page. So page layout, on my margins, custom margins, and here, oh, there is one, not multiple pages. Where did it go? Sorry about that, guys. Oh, here it is. Vertical alignment, center. Okay. And this should be down here. Oh, why is it giving me trouble today? Sorry about that, guys. So on the layout, it should say vertical alignment, center. Could be because I didn't have it highlighted. There it is. That was my fault. I didn't click on the envelope the proper way. Mailing, address block. Okay, and then this address block I can get rid of. Right here. Address block. Say OK. And I can put my address up here. Okay? And that way when I print off the letter, it will also print off the address, or the envelope. Lost my word. So I'm going through preview letters, and you can see it changes. I did not have to work very hard at this besides I clicked on the wrong spot for the envelope. But besides that, it was relatively easy for me to create a letter, which I already had, add an address block, a greeting line, and then send also, or create also an envelope. That was it. That's all I had to do. And then now when I print it off, the only thing that I have to be aware of is that when I print this off, I have to give the printer the envelope and a piece of paper. Otherwise it won't print off correctly. Now, let's say I did want to go back and change the people that I was sending this to. I can edit my recipient list, and I can decide, oh, you know what, I did mean Jocelyn to get this letter too. So I say, okay, and that's it. Now, immediately, she's in on the loop as well. I didn't have to do something special for her. Now, I said I was going to show you how I had that recipient list laid out. So I'm just going to go ahead and open that document. I'm hoping you guys are seeing that. And all it is a table. I like some data is title, first name, last name, medical, blah, blah, the address, city, state, zip. And since this was a table, it pulled it right in. Now this was already created in Word, but I could have also gotten my list from an Excel spreadsheet. The only difference would be, let me go ahead and close this out, if I want to select my recipients, use an existing list, and if I go and get my Excel version of that, I choose which sheet it's on. That's the only difference to it. And I say, okay. And, probably because I heard this, complete the merge. And you'll see it brought in that same data. It's just from an Excel sheet. Very similar to if you linked it up with Outlook. It would grab your Outlook address book and bring in the people's information from your Outlook. So those are the three ways you can bring it in. From Word, just as a table, from Excel, and then also from your Outlook itself. And again, I can't show you the Outlook portion because I'm on somebody else's machine and they actually don't use Outlook on their machine. They use the web version, so it won't go get the web version. So any questions regarding mail merge? I think the best way to do it is to go through the wizard. It basically walks you through the whole thing. No questions. Wow. Okay. I can print these just by going to print, so I think I chatted about that as well. Okay, let me go ahead and go back. Okay. So the next topic we're going to chat about really quickly is creating an outline. Now, the good part about creating an outline is you don't have to worry about formatting. You don't have to worry about how it looks. And I know for myself, I get distracted sometimes. I'm trying to make it look good while I'm working on it instead of just getting the information down on your page and then worrying about the format later on. Sometimes I want to say, oh, I want to put a title here. I want to put a heading 1. I want to put a heading 2. And worry about the formatting versus, hey, let me get the structure down. And then after I do the structure, then let me worry about the formatting. That's when you would create a document in outline view. So let me go ahead and I'm going to open up a new document in Word. And pop over to Word again. And first and foremost, to work in outline view, you have to show your document in outline view. So you go to View, and you click on Outline. Not much has changed except your margins are gone, your page delineators are gone, and you have this button next to what you're doing. So right now, I am on a level 1. If you're on level 2, that means you've indented. If you're on a level 3, you've indented more from there. So I'm just going to start typing. Okay. And it doesn't look like much of anything right now, but I'm just kind of getting my ideas down on the page. So a second. And third. Okay. So think of this as if I was doing a bulleted list or a number list, these would be my headings. So I want to go back to my first document line, and I want to add some subtopics or subordinate topics underneath there. So I'm just going to go up and I'm going to hit enter. But I need to make it a subordinate topic, so I'm just going to hit tab. Okay? And the cool part about this is you'll see this first line document line, it's now added a plus symbol instead of a minus symbol. And you'll see what that means in just a minute. So I'm just going to make up some topics. Colors, visuals, and hearing. Okay. I'm going to go down to my next one, outline, and I'm going to do the same thing. Animals. And I know it's not making any sense, but I just want to show you what the outline can look like. Third document, let's say it's going to be on habitat and, I don't know, critters. And let's say you have a very, very long document. Here's the benefit of doing it in outline view. I can decide I don't want to see this, everything underneath it, because it goes on and on and on and on and on. So I can this topic and everything underneath that topic. I can collapse it. I don't want to look at it right now. I don't want to work on it right now. I can also say, okay, I want to collapse the third document line. So again, I'm going to only look at the second document line. And I'm going to add some more topics underneath each one of these. So learning, styles, concepts. Okay? So each time that I demote a line, it's going to be indented. But if I made an error and I actually want concepts to be promoted up a level, all I would need to do is say Shift Tab, and that promotes it. Or I can also use the toggle buttons of promoting and demoting up here. So I can collapse all. I can say, okay, let me look at level 1 and say, or change this to level 1 just by changing this, or I can say, hey, I actually wanted a level 6 for some reason. I can change it up here. Or I can use my little toggle buttons. I'm just going to go back. Okay. And say, show my first line only, which means this is what's going to be on my first line of document. If I have multiple lines of document. I don't use that very often. I like to just show all of it. Right now, this is what it looks like in formatting view. Even though I haven't applied any formatting, there's just a little bit of formatting just so it stands out. Okay. I can rearrange things really simply in outline view versus, I'm just going to toggle off of outline view so you can see what it looks like in the other view. So you can see this is what it looks like so far. If I go back to outline view, okay, I can move these around real easily. So let's say all of this underneath second document line, I actually want to move after the third. So I actually just hold down the button, click, and drag it, and now I've rearranged my whole entire document just by clicking it around in outline view. This is the power of outline view. So it's not only just getting the concepts down and laying out how you want them to be on your levels. It's also I can grab something really quickly and reorganize it. Okay? And again, if I don't want to see everything underneath, I can go to any of these, click on it, and say I want to collapse it very, very quickly. I can show my document and create my document. And, oh, pardon me. I can go right now and start manipulating my document. So in outline view, I have concentrated on getting the information in my document. I'm not worried about how it looks right now. I'm just getting the information in. So if I go back to my outline view and I start typing in some data, I can say, let me go back to my data. This is going to be actually normal. Visuals are for themes. Okay, so you can see where it's going. Let me go back to outline so you can see what it's going to look like. I don't have, this is just my outline view. It's not the details. So if I wanted learning after animals, I can immediately move it around. So I want to be very clear on what the outline view gives you. It gives you the headers, it gives you the titles, it gives you the categories underneath. So you can reorganize, you can work on just that section of it, and not get distracted with the overall look of your document. That's the benefit of outline view. You can also have an existing document, as long as it has headers, or not headers, pardon me, if it has headings and titles and such, and work on it in outline view as well. So if you have an existing document, if you open it up, click on outline view, you can reorganize it right there in outline view without having to go over to my document. You can go over to my document. And right now, if I wanted to move things around, I would have to figure out, okay, this is a whole entire section. I can either cut or copy or just grab it and move it. Again, it's a little, no, I didn't want it there, and now I've messed up learning. You can see how complex it can get with just trying to move things around versus going over to outline view. And I just take this third and I move it right back down. Now I go back to my document, and it's everything that was connected with it goes along with it. So I think it's really, really useful for reorganizing your concepts, reorganizing your document, concentrating on one area at a time in terms of collapsing your information if I don't want to see everything. And let's see, there we go. There we go. Okay. Any questions regarding creating an outline? Kids are quiet. Okay. Let me go through and pop back. So I've added little notes here because sometimes it's easier. I mean, we're used to tabbing, but we're not used to promoting things. So I just added a little notation here that it's a shift tab that gets you back. Okay. So let's talk about web options. And what I mean by web options is we work with hyperlinks all the time when we're on the web. But we can actually use hyperlinks in our document. Hyperlinks does not mean if you click on something you go directly to the web. That is a hyperlink, but that's not the only type of hyperlink we have at our fingertips. The other web option I want to chat about is saving it as a web page, and specifically talking about MHT format and HTML format. So let me go ahead and bounce back to my Word document, and I'm just going to go back and open up that one letter that I was working on. Because I just want a document. It doesn't really much matter which document I use. And I want to go ahead and add a website hyperlink for MedTech. Now, this is if I was giving somebody this document in electronic format. Now, I don't have to do it in electronic format, but it doesn't make much sense to add hyperlinks if it's not going to be if you're not going to interact with that hyperlink. if I just wanted a web address, I could type in the http://www.medtech.com, and folks could see what their website was. Or if they had an email, I can just type in the email. But if this is a document that I'm going to share with somebody, the reason why I would add a hyperlink is for it to be interactive. So I'm going to go ahead and select one of the MedTech words, and I'm going to highlight it. And I'm going to go to Insert Hyperlink. Now here's the reason why I did that. Because right up here, it says Text to Display, MedTech. Since I already had it on my document, I might as well use what I have on my document. If I didn't have this, or if I wanted to change it, I could say MedTech Equipment. Okay. I can add a screen tip, which I always like to do. And what the screen tip does is if the person hovers over that web link, it will tell you what it does. Send user to website. Okay. Say OK. And here's my address. It's http://www.medtech.com. I don't know if MedTech exists, but I'm going to use medtech.com. I'm going to say OK. Now you see that it's changed to MedTech Equipment, and when I hover over it, it says sends users to website. And to get there, I just click, hold the control, and click. That is the hyperlink that we're normally thinking about when we talk about hyperlinks. But there's other hyperlinks. One is a hyperlink that I can jump to another place in this document. For instance, if I want to be able to jump down to Vice President Marketing, I can say hyperlink. First and foremost, I want to create a bookmark here. And sort by, bookmark is going to be title of person. That's my bookmark name. I can call it anything. I can type today. I say add. So hidden right in front of this vice president is a little bookmark. So I'm going to go back up to the top of my document, and I'm going to create a hyperlink. And I'm just going to do it right here. For some reason, I want to highlight right here on the 720, I want to create a hyperlink. I want to do a place in this document. And here it is right there, title of person. That's the one I just created, and I say OK. So now, let's say I'm going to zoom this so it's really big. And if I click on this hyperlink, it takes me down to my bookmark. Now for this document's really small. But if you can imagine a document that is 500 pages long, I could create a lot of bookmarks and have it hyperlinked. But one thing I would use hyperlinks in a document for is if I have a table of contents. Then every single one of those items that are in the table of contents, I would create a hyperlink so the reader could click on that and jump down to that section. That's what I would use it for in a document. That's one hyperlink that we're not usually thinking about. Another hyperlink is I can create it using a new document. Okay? Let's say I want to link a document with this document. Then I can create a brand new document from where I am right now. So I'm actually going to say edit the new document later. You can say edit the new document now, it opens up the new document, but I want to say later. And I want to give it a text to display. Okay. And the full name of the new document. This is what it's going to be saved as. Okay. And I say Okay, now you see that I have this link. And as soon as I click on it, I'm going to hold down Control and click on it. I open up a new document. Well, what would be the purpose of that? If I wanted somebody to open a document and get it back to me, perhaps I would use a new document. I'm going to close that out. The other thing I can do is link it up with an existing document. So right here and on top of Bob Smith, I'm going to create another hyperlink. And I'm going to create an existing file. Remember, we did this as a web page. That's by default. But I can say a recent file. And I can add any of these documents. So I'm just going to go ahead and link this document, which was my data source. And I'm going to say OK. And I don't want the text to display datasource.doc. So I'll just call it data source. And again, I would give it a tooltip just so people know what it's doing. And say OK. And right here is my data source. I hold down Control and click, and that opens up my file. It's a link from that one file to the other file. Now, mind you, if you do this, whoever is accessing the original document, they would also need to be able to access your secondary document, not the blank one, because they can immediately create a blank one. But that source document, the data source document, they would also have to have access to that data because it's actually going to go get it. So if it's on your SharePoint, perfect. If it's on a network server that you all share, perfect. If you send both files to them and they save it in the same location, perfect. Then it would work. But they have to have both documents. Okay. The last hyperlink I want to chat about, and I'm going to highlight Joel Lieber. I'm going to go to hyperlink, and I'm going to connect this with an email address. So here's the email address, and I'm going to make up one. So JLIEBER@medtech.com. And subject, you can specify a subject, which here's the good part about that, and I've used this a lot, especially with students. Sometimes someone gets so excited to email you, they forget to add a really nice subject line so it clues you in on what they're talking about. So if you put in a subject line that you demand them to use, now they can change it, but usually folks don't really look at the subject line all too much when they're opening up a link to an email this way. You can specify what that subject line is going to be. So I'm going to say web browser inquiry. Okay. So now this link, when I click on it, it's going to open Outlook. It will begin, or whichever default email program that you have on your machine. It's going to open that up. It's going to address the email to the Joe Lieber, and it will also add that subject line in on the user's behalf. And that's the other one. Now, if I click on it, it's not going to do anything to this machine, so I don't want to demonstrate that. But those are the different hyperlinks. So it's not just going to the website. It's connecting it to a location in this document. It's connecting it to a new document. It's connecting it to an existing document. And it's also connecting it to an email. Those are hyperlinks. So any questions about hyperlinks? Okay. Now, the next thing I want to chat about is also a web option, and it's saving your web page, or saving your document as a web page, okay, where it transfers it all into that awful HTML, and actually what it does for the 2007 version is it's based in XML, which is another markup language. And the problem with that, let me stick with the problem first. The problem is Word adds a boatload of coding in there that's not really necessary. But it's quick and easy if you want to actually create a web page and you're not too much into starting your web page from scratch. But all you do is you're going to go to your Office button, click Save As, and you're going to select either a single file web page, a web page, or a web page filter. Now, I don't do web page filters, but these are the choices that I'll go with, either single web page or just a web page. Here's the difference. A single web page will mark it as an MHT. What that is it's one file with everything you need in that file. It embeds all of your content in that one file, as in pictures, formatting, everything you need. The other version is a web page. A web page saves it as an HTML, but it saves all of your pictures, your links, everything else in a folder off to the side. It's not embedded into that one document. Here's the benefits. HTML is a smaller size because everything's off to the side. But you have to remember, if you're going to save this web page with somebody and they want the whole web page, you have to send them that folder with all of your goodies, with all of your pictures and such. With an MHT, you only have to send the one file because the downside of that is the file is larger. But here's how I'm going to save it. I'm going to go ahead and save it on my desktop. And I'm going to select single file web page. I can change the page title. I can also add some tags. But I'm going to go ahead and change the title. So instead of Image MedTech, I'm going to say Image MedTech Equipment. This is on the title bar in terms of when you open up your browser, that's what shows up. And I can save it. Okay, bingo. This is how it's going to look on my web page if I publish it. Okay, looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and save it once again, Save As, and I'm going to go down to Other Formats, and I'm now going to save it as a web page. I'm not going to change the page title. I'll go ahead and just leave it the same, and I say Save. Ooh, it looks exactly the same, right? Well, here's the difference. I'm going to go ahead and change where you guys are looking. And I'm actually going to save my desktop. Okay. Here's the difference. This is the single web page. It has everything that you need. If I want to send this over to somebody, I just have to send this file. Here's the Save As web page. I have the web page document, which in this turn I use Firefox all the time, so it's Firefox. But it has everything else inside it that it needs. So it has some mapping for the colors, it has a file list, it has an image, and it has the data itself. If I don't send this folder along with this web page, it won't work properly. It depends on the browser that you're going to publish it, which format you would use. That's kind of what it comes down to. Internet Explorer, of course, will read HTML. Firefox and Opera will read it, but it also reads MHT. So it does depend on browsers, and I didn't do all of the research on which one doesn't, but I think most of the major browsers will do both formats. So it also depends on who's writing the code. If they're more comfortable in embedding the content specifically in the file, or if they prefer it to link to a folder file out there. Hope I kind of made that make sense. So any questions about the web stuff? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and talk about customizing the Word application. And there's several things that we can do with the application itself. One is to customize the ribbon, kind of, sort of, using the Quick Access toolbar, changing the color scheme, changing our username and initials, and then we have some advanced cut-paste options. Now what I mean by customizing the ribbon, and let me pop over to Word. Okay. What I mean by customizing the ribbon is, here's the ribbon. In 2007, we can't customize the ribbon all that much. Not the ribbon itself. In 2010, yay, something to look forward to. You actually can. You can create your own tabs and use those icons and commands that you use most frequently. You can create your own tabs and then hide the others. So what I mean mostly about customizing the ribbon is you can go down to Word Options, and you can, in terms of customizing, it's really not the ribbon we're messing with. The only thing that we can turn off of the ribbon is the Developer tab. So if I want to display, you can display, where'd it go? Popular. I can show the Developer tab or not. If you don't use the Developer tab, then you don't need to show it. And I'm going to bounce back and show you what's on the Developer tab. It's a lot of the programming stuff. So if you're not into the background of the Visual Basic or the macros, you don't need this area. So you can turn it off and save some space up on top. So again, it's the Office button, Word Options, and don't show the Developer tab. While I'm in here in the options, this is what we can customize, which is the quick. Let me kind of do it earlier, but let me walk you through it a little bit slower. So on Customize, here's your Quick Access toolbar. Right now I have Save, Undo, Redo, Quick Print, that Insert Voice, and New. If there's a certain command that you use all the time, then I recommend putting it up on your Quick Access toolbar. You can have quite a few up there. I mean, you have the whole length of Word. So let's say I use Print Preview a lot, so I say apply that. If it's not on your popular commands, you can say all commands. And I use a Save As a lot, so I'm just going to scroll down. They're nice in alphabetical order. I can say as a PDF or something, so I can say, hey, save as a different format. So I'm just going to click on here. There's a Save Web Page. There's Save as a Template. If you use those a lot, go ahead and put them on your Quick Access toolbar. I'm going to say Save As. What this means is save it as a different format. I say add that one. If I don't need the Insert Voice anymore, I can say remove it. I say OK. Right up here, I now have Save As. Once I click on it, it doesn't change its default. It will just say, okay, now you have the option of changing whatever format that you want pretty quickly, versus going to Office button, Save As, yada, yada, yada. So that's a little more time-consuming than just having on your Quick Access toolbar. So there's another way of customizing the look of the application, and it's to change the color scheme. Now, on your Office button, go to Word Options, and right here is your color scheme. Now, we have a whole bunch of options here. No, not really. We have 3. We can change it from blue to silver to black. Now here's something that a lot of folks don't know. If I save it in Word as a black theme, and I'll just show you what it looks like. You see it now looks black instead of the blue. When I open up Excel, that's also black. If I open up Outlook, that's also black. If I open up Access, it's also black. So if you apply it to one, it applies it to all of them. That's one of the downsides. I actually like black. It seems easier on my eyes, but I'll show you what silver looks like. So here's silver, and there's silver. Okay, so you have your choice of blue, silver, and black. It's also available in Word 2010, and there's no plans to add any more colors than the 3. There was some debate on adding different color schemes, but I think it had to do with just what it worked with best, because it works with all of them the same way and how it looks. It's easier on the eyes or whatnot. So I'm just going to go ahead and change it back to blue. Okay. In the options area, early in the webinar, I was talking about, hey, I can change the username. So again, Word options, right here is my username. Right now it's under L Mann, but perhaps I actually want it to display Lynn Mann, so I would just change it. And my initials, LM, I want them capitalized. And I say, okay, well, okay, that's nice. Did it do anything? It did. That's what it did. When I go to look at my document, and I look at my properties of my document, it will say the author was L Mann. And when I save this document and update it, let me save it, it should change it to Lynn Mann. So let me open up another one and see if it takes hold of that change. Yes, there it goes. So when I opened up a new document, it changed it. I don't know why it didn't change it in the current document, but it could be because that was the original author, and that's why it doesn't want to change. But I can change it. Let me pop back to that document. I can say this is John Doe. So John Doe is now the author. So when I give this to somebody else, it's going to have John Doe as the author. It's not going to have Lynn Mann, as long as I save it. So what would be the purpose of that? Let's say you're creating this for your supervisor, and he's actually supposed to be the one that's the author. You could put his name under the author, and perhaps you just gave him an outline. We work with outline. So you gave him an outline, and he filled in all the blanks. You would want him to be the author. So you would put his name in the author versus yours. And since you always use your computer, it's usually going to be under your name. So that's why you would use it there. And I just close out the properties. Okay. And here's one last thing I want to show you in terms of customizing your Word application. Office button, Word options, and under the Advanced tab, there is a lot of things here. But I want you to focus down on the cut, paste, and copy options. By default, it will keep the source formatting. This is its default. But if you do a lot of copying and pasting and you just want to keep the text, you can change it right here. Keep text only. Pasting between documents. Go ahead and say keep text only. Pasting between documents when styles, definitions conflict. Go ahead and say keep text only. I mean, you can change these to what you want. So now when I copy and paste into this document, my settings are only going to keep text. It doesn't mean that I won't have the option to change it. It just means that's the default option when I'm copying and pasting. If I want to change that option when I do paste, let me say OK here, and I can go over to my letter document, and I'm going to copy some data. I'm going to go back over to my document. Let's see, I'm going to get rid of that document. And it was this document. And I paste it. Remember, by default, it's only going to text only. It's going to paste text only. But I can still change it if I did want to keep the source, if I did want to match the destination, and then again, if I want to keep text only. I do this a lot because I don't want to fiddle with the formatting. I just want to paste the text. I just want to paste the text. So I've actually changed this option on my Word to where it's a lot faster because now I don't have to think about it. I can just keep going because it's pasted the text versus keep the formatting of it. So, let's get out of this guy. So, are there any questions? I'm at the end of what I wanted to share with you, so now we're open to whatever topics you want to talk about. And again, I know I ran through that really fast, but it is recorded, so you can replay it over and over and over and listen to me go on and on and on about mail merge and copying and pasting and all of that good stuff.
I just changed the default font, Lynn.
It's also in the options.
And your font, like the font type and the font size.
It's in the option. You can also create a template and use your template. But in the Word options, and it's on Advanced, and then there's so many things in here. The prints, the save, where'd it go? What the compatibility options, I know it's in here somewhere. Keep text only, put on display, no, it's not on popular. No, it is in here that you can, maybe it's not. They've changed it up in 2003. What I would do for that one, what I would do for that one is actually, there's usually a setting. Oh, here we go. Font substitution. You can use,
There it is.
there it is. Under draft font, draft options.
Well, it is under advanced.
Change. Yeah, it is under advanced, show content. And you can select any of these that you want. But for Courier New right now is the default. You can change it. Also with the size, you can change it. I think 12 is like MLA format or something. And it has to be Times New Roman. You can change it here. And it's going to be for this document. If you want to do a whole bunch of settings changes to where titles are a certain thing and you use a certain theme and your font's a certain way and size, then I would do that in a document and then save it as a template. And then you can open up that template every time that you need those settings. But if you just want to change your overall Word options, this is what you would do, is just change it here and say Times New Roman, click OK. And so when I open up a new document, it better have those settings. So I'm just going to go Office, Word Options, Advanced, and there we go. So this is just on my machine though. It's not for, just didn't change the world here. It's just for my Word.
Lauren wants to know, as far as accessibility, is there a certain font size or font type that you would recommend?
Yeah, there's some data out there that you want to use sans serif, and I'm probably going to switch this around. There's the true type, and then there's sans serif.
And without serif, and then serif.
Serif, it means the little tails on the letters.
It depends on the end user. If the end user is going to print the document out, they say to use the ones with the serifs.
Yes.
Like a Times New Roman. Right. If it's going to be read on the screen, it's going to be a Verdana font.
Yeah.
You want to have no books on it, no serif, sans serif, which is like Arial, Helvetica, Gill Sans, that kind of stuff. If you want people to print it and be able to read it, then you want to use Times or Deramond, or
Georgia.
Yes, and I always mix the two up on which one's the reading and which one's the printing, so thank you guys for clarifying which one's which. And there is a specific font size, and I think 12 is pretty regular, but I've also heard 14, and I think that might be a little large. Tom, do you know if 14 standard now? Just seems large.
It goes back to what you're designing it for. Like Karen's very familiar with what you print because she does all of our...
12 for screen because it's readable. 11 for print because it's more readable, it's printed.
Okay.
14 is too big. It's headers, subheaders, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a book called The Non-Designer's Web Book, and it kind of goes through
Well,
some of that.
web page design is completely different
Yeah.
than what I do.
Yeah, so if you're sending something out to be read by people on the screen, I would probably change a Verdana font, you know. And is there a way to do font settings based on whether you print it to, you know, or whether, you know, to change the font depending upon the user, the end user, Lynn?
There is an HTML.
Yeah, but not the Word itself, right?
No, because it's the document itself that's set. So the only thing that I could suggest is that you change it before you print. I mean, that's just a all, and if your font is same throughout. I know a lot of folks change up their fonts depending on headers, and even Word is set with the themes that it changes the font depending on if it's a header or if it's a header 1, header 2. You'll actually see that it's different font for the different characteristics and attributes of your document. I'm not really fond of that, having too many different styles of font in your document. It makes it a lot harder to change.
Karen says, right?
Yeah. For a readable document, you should never have more than 2 fonts. It's too confusing for the eye. So you should have a serif and a sans serif. Choose one of one. Then you can have, if you need to accent, you can have or bold italics, and never underlining. Which is a typewriter function for italics.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. The only time I underline is in emails and yelling at somebody. Oh, wait, no.
Do you guys have any questions on that side, Lenore?
I don't believe so. This was very useful to me. I learned some things I didn't know. I took notes.
Oh, good. Well, I printed off a stack of notes just in case that you guys asked me more that I wasn't too sure about. So I was trying to be prepared for you.
Well, thank you, Lynn. We do appreciate it.
You are welcome. But I do want to do one quick thing. And I know we were covering 2007, but At One in May has some webinars coming up, and they're free. You just sign up for them, and it's discussing the upgrade to 2010. So even though it may not be on the horizon for you, you might be able to pick up some tips and tricks from the seminars. And I'm not doing all of them. Micah's doing one. I think another guy, and I'm missing his last name's Doherty. So Mr. Doherty is doing another one. I'm going to do Excel. And those are just bringing you up to speed with Office 2010 products. And again, we're probably not going to cover everything that we've covered here. It's going to be just a quick outline of what's coming up and what's new. So you might find this useful too. And then again, for the rest of this week, we have presentations going on for West Hills, covering PowerPoint and Excel and Access, and I think Friday is Outlook. So if you guys are going to join me then, I'm glad to see you again on another day.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Y'all have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.